Okay. Hello to all of you, to all our listeners. I hope you are having a good day and all of you are safe. And welcome to this webinar. No, it's a free webinar from PSIM Batangas chapter. It's all about the energy audit of HVAC system, which is compliance, not to Republic Act number 11285, which is known as Energy Efficiency and Conservation Act of 2019 that was signed by our former President Rodrigo Duterte. So it's a very interesting webinar for all who are interested, no, to be part of the energy management community in the Philippines, and if you want to be an energy efficiency practitioner. And of course, it's one of the critical programs of the government uh, to ensure that we have a sustainable energy, right? So because we all know that the energy consumption is really at its peak because of the population, no? Because of the technologies and economic reforms, no? And that's why it's very important to be aware how we can manage, no, our energy consumption. Okay, so let's start. Okay, before I start, no, it's very important to know uh, how to learn a specific subject. No, actually, it applies to all, no, hindi lang for this particular webinar. Because in learning development, no, to be expert, you need to be 100% competent, right? But as we learn a topic, as we learn a field, there's a model that quantify how the people learn. And so there's a 70, 20, 10 model that states that the people can obtain, no? So ano ba 'yon? So let's start from the 10%. Okay. 10% from formal learning events, 20% from interactions with others like coworkers and managers, 70% for their knowledge from job-related experiences. Ano po ba ang ibig sabihin nun? So, from this free webinar, what I can give to you is the 10%. Okay, from formal learning events. If you want to gain more knowledge, then you have at least interaction with others, no, with experts. You can collaborate with them, no, with your coworkers or energy practitioners or any managers that is related to your field, right? But the most important here is of course the experience where you can get 70%. Ibig sabihin lang po nun, kahit ano po ang sabihin ko dito, kahit ano po ang ibigay ko sa inyo na information or awareness, if you do not apply it, so magiging useless lang po siya. So if you are really interested and serious about this energy management and whatever field with regards to energy, it's very important to apply what you learn here in this free webinar. Okay, so just to manage the expectations. All right, okay, let's go to the next slide. Okay, it's very important to know what are the objectives of this webinar and of course target audience. No, first, learning objectives. So we need to understand and we need to have at least idea what is RA 11285. Maybe some of us has already attended series or some webinars about this Republic Act 11285, but maybe some of us hindi pa aware or maybe need some overview. Okay, and also one of the objectives is to have a report guidelines in terms of energy audit. So actually, there's so many protocols or there's so many report guidelines that we can use when we are formulating or we are or when we are preparing a report. But for now, no, for this webinar, we will discuss what is familiar with us, especially ASHRAE, no? So ASHRAE is, if you're a mechanical engineer, it's like ASME code, no? Meron tayong PME code. So ASHRAE is American Society of Heating, Refrigerating, and Air Conditioning Engineers. So from this standard, no, meron silang 211-2018. We will tackle it later, no, about the commercial building energy audit. And of course, what are the key points, no, of HVAC system energy audit? And the target audience is are the plant engineers, no, whether if you are in the operation and maintenance, mechanical engineers, energy manager, or energy auditor, technical personnel, and also energy efficiency practitioners. When we say technical personnel, technician, no, mechanics, and even the non-mechanical engineers who are practicing manufacturing operation and maintenance, no, whether if you're electrical engineer. Okay, next slide. Okay, so we will start on the excuse me, on the overview of the RA 11285. So ano po ba ang ibig sabihin ng RA 11285? So sabi dito, it is an act that institutionalizes energy efficiency and conservation, providing incentives for energy efficiency projects in the Philippines. What is the scope? The act sets a framework for energy efficiency and conservation policies promoting the responsible use of energy, renewables, and responsibilities for agencies and private entities. So it's very clear here that we need to institutionalize a program that will engage, no, all the industries, all the commercial buildings, even transportation. Engagement is very important to establish energy conservation program. Well, if you want details, meron po ito sa website po ng DOE. You can download it. No, ito pong RA 11285. Just to give information, if you can notice here that it was signed in 2019, but unfortunately, we all know that we have this pandemic, COVID-19, last 2020 in the Philippines. Actually, in the whole world naman. That's why it was delayed, no? It wasn't even implemented right away, although meron po siyang IRR or Implementation Regulation. So, it was delayed. That's why it was not prioritized. But the most important thing that happened during pandemic is we reduced the energy consumption. So there will be no significant baseline. Anyway, fast forward, if you noticed, last 2022, DOE mandated all the industries, commercial buildings, hotels to submit, no, the energy report. Naging aggressive po ang DOE that time, no? And we also mandated and required to submit a level 1 energy audit, no? And required to have at least CEM and SECO depending on the DE or the business type. Okay, so if you remember that, maybe some of you already have the idea what happened noong 2022, and it's only a starting point of the government to be more aggressive for the coming years. Especially this year, no, there will be more announcement in terms of compliance. Who does RA 11285 apply to? So according to the Department of Energy, businesses will be categorized into two types based on their energy use. So there will be a type 1 and type 2 businesses. So ano po ba yung type 1 DE? DE means designated establishment. So if your industry or establishment is consuming 500,000 to 4 million kilowatt hour per year, you need a SECO, which is the Certified Energy Conservation Officer. But if you have a consumption of more than 4 million kilowatt hour, you need you are belong to type 2 designated establishment. and wherein you need a CEM, or the Certified Energy Manager. Okay, there's a new DOE circular that was released earlier this year about the new typology of businesses types, no? But I don't have the full copy because I made this report last week, and I am not yet aware that there's already a new guidelines. But I have some sort of snapshot, no, of the new DOE circular for the designated establishment. So ano po ba yun? According to Section 7, so there will be at least three types, no? And these three types is there will be others, no, 50,000 kilowatt hour equivalent and below. Type 1 is 50,000 to 1 million kilowatt hour, and type 2 is 1 million to 8 million kilowatt hour, and type 3 is 8 million kilowatt hour equivalent or more than. So there will be a different and revised type. So there will be more announcement and rollout of this new circular. The important here is we are already aware what will be the expectations, right? Kasi maybe it's during that time, no, we just need to implement right away those sites in the section of RA 11285. But there will be more announcement, no, and let's wait for it. Okay. All right. Um, One of the very important here is to know the obligations of designated establishment. According to Section 20, no, marami po yan, but we will highlight ano yung pinaka-importante, no. Of course, the first one is to integrate an energy management system policy into the business operation based on ISO 50001 or any similar framework. If you're in the industry, I'm sure you're aware of the different standards of ISO, right? Meron po tayong ISO 14001, oh, meron tayong ISO 9001. And for the energy management, we have also ISO 50001, which is very important to integrate and include in your business operation. 'Di ba? Kaya yung ISO kasi parang yan pampabango yan, no? Kapag you are ISO certified, there's some sort of impressions that this company or this industry is practicing within the standard, no? But okay, set up programs, sabi dito, no, to develop and design measures that promote energy efficiency, conservation, and sufficiency that may include installation of renewable energy technologies. So it's very clear, no, yung obligation. We need to set up programs. Okay? Meaning, we will not only rely for external audit, but we will also do internal audits to identify energy savings. Okay? It's very clear, no? And sabi dito, improve, no, average specific energy consumption in accordance with the annual reduction targets to be established by the DOE in the NEECP. The NEECP stands for National Energy Efficiency Conservation Program. And of course, submit an annual energy conservation consumption report to the DOE by the 15th of April of every year. So malapit na po ang April, dapat we already preparing the report because the DO has this portal through internet that we can submit the reports. It's very important, no? And conduct an energy audit once every 3 years. Okay, so once every 3 years, no? And that's why last 2022 we are required to submit at least level 1, no, from ESCO. ESCO is the energy service company that is accredited by the DOE. Okay, so we can hire external service provider that they can provide a report so that we can identify, no, energy reduction potentials. Employ a SECO. Ito na po yung sinabi ko kanina that if you are in the type 1, you need a SECO. And if you are in the type 2, you need a CEM. Okay? It's very clear here ano po yung mga obligations. Okay? It's very clear, and we must be aware of this, especially if you are the energy manager, if you are the facilities manager of a industry. Okay. Another one, according to Section 21, ano ba yung mga responsibilities ng SECO and the CEM? So sabi dito, no, manage the energy consumption of facilities, equipment, and devices. Implementation and improvement of energy efficiency measures. The number 2 is conduct. Now it's very clear. Conduct of regular energy audit. Energy monitoring and control. Preparation of periodic energy consumption and energy conservation program reports. Fulfill other responsibilities as indicated in this act. So it's very clear, as part of our responsibilities as SECO or CEM is we need to have at least a regular energy audit. So we will not wait the every 3 years, no. Although it is required by the government to submit at least energy audit from SECO, from ESCO, no, to submit comprehensive audit. But as industry or in the commercial building or hotel, we also need to have an annual regular energy audit. For me, no, this is based from the experience. What we do is we have internal audit annual. Diba kasi every 3 years matagal yon. So it will take how many months that after the last audit, are you sure na wala ba talagang mga changes dyan? So there will be changes in terms of cooling loads, no? In terms of occupancy, there will be changes. So it's very important to conduct a regular energy audit. It's like a maintenance, no? That there will be a frequency to ensure that your equipment will run and to function it properly, right? The same for the energy, because it's all about sustainability, no? Well, we will set an example. If we already established energy reduction projects or energy reduction programs, but after 2 years bumalik sa dati, so it's not sustainable. That's why it's very important to have a regular energy audit. Ito, fines, penalties, and criminal liability. So, yung details po, hindi ko na po iisa-isahin niya, no? But according to Section 32 and Section 33, there will be fines and penalties. So, there will be a 10,000 to 1 million. Section 33, criminal liability, no? It's imprisonment of 1 year to 5 years or fine of 100,000 to 100 million. So, hindi po siya ganun kaliit na fine, no? And it's very clear that we are accountable to this. If you are the CEM, if you are the designated energy manager of the factory or the industry, hindi natin pwede pong pekein ang mga data. We cannot provide a fake data, because if we declare a wrong data, there will be wrong analysis and there will be wrong solutions. And also the declaration of the DOE. And if nalaman ng DOE na you are fabricating data, then there will be fines and penalties. Instead that you are declaring the actual energy consumption, you are declaring a conservative data. So it's not really solution, no, oriented. Kasi we are providing data. So if the data is not correct, if the data is not validated, if the data is fabricated, so at the end of the day, tayo po ang talo kasi we cannot formulate correct solutions. So please ensure now that we are aware of these fines, penalties, and criminal liability. So maybe there will be civil cases as well, no? You can, if you're a license, baka ma-revoke pa yung license natin. So be very careful po sa ating mga dinideclare na mga data and also reports. Alright, so what is energy audit? Okay, inspection, survey, and analysis of energy flows for identification of energy savings opportunities and to reduce energy inputs without affecting the output. Energy audit is different from financial audit or any documentation standard audit, wherein it's very structured. Energy audit, you can do audits in a very casual way, but the most important in energy audit are the data and the analysis. There are three types of energy audit. Okay. Type 1 is basic energy audit. So it provides generalized advice on recommendations and quantified savings estimates without detailed analysis of the site's energy consumption. Type 2 is more on detailed energy audit na to, no? It quantifies the range of energy saving opportunities. Precision subsystem audit, a detailed audit of specific subsystems or equipment, usually involving on-site energy monitoring, includes a high level of accuracy of the expected cost. All right, but for this free webinar, we will more on the basic energy audit because for the sake of time, no, we do not have enough time to discuss all the details and it's very tedious as well. So ang audit po is, it classifies at least into three, which is also aligned on the ASHRAE standard that we will tackle later. And if you are going to audit a site or a facilities, it's very important to at least do first this basic energy audit before we proceed to the more detailed energy audit. Okay, so it's already mentioned here that it is the inspection, survey, and analysis. Okay, hindi siya ganun ka-structured, no? But for energy audit, to be successful on your energy audit, the data must be a high level, must have a high level of accuracy. Okay. What is HVAC system? Okay. The HVAC stands for heating, ventilation, air conditioning. HVAC purpose is to control the thermal or temperature and humidity and atmospheric conditions, particulate matter and dust of an enclosed space for health and comfort of occupants. So the bottom line here is HVAC, they are providing some sort of human comfort. So dapat makuha natin yung comfort zone when we are providing air conditioning, heating, or ventilation. At the same time, yung health ng mga occupants. For this webinar, we will not discuss the heating and ventilation, but we will discuss ang air conditioning wherein ito po kasi ang mas common tsaka familiar, no, yung air conditioning. When we go to hotel, hindi naman common yung heating no, because we are in the tropical country, mas common po ang air conditioning and we can appreciate more in terms of audit ng air conditioning natin. Okay? So the HVAC, no, typically, no, ito po yung pinaka, let's say, if it is a chilled water system, so meron pa tayong chiller, we have evaporator, we have compressor, we have condenser, and we have also expansion valve. And it has a cooling tower, no, to reject the heat. Evaporator is to absorb the heat. Compressor is to compress the low pressure refrigerant into high pressure refrigerant. And in the evaporator, we have this chilled water wherein it is distributed to the air handling units to distribute the supply air and to provide cooling. And if you are in the hotel or even in the industry, if you can notice, there are several air handling units, no? It's common, meron lang siyang supply air duct, distribution duct, meron siyang return. Of course, there will be fresh air inlet and, process equipment, process room, and doors and windows, typical. And it's very common, no? When we see these air handling units. Of course, may mga diffusers yan. So, hindi mo makikita actually yung AHU, but what you can see is the diffusers, no? But if you are in the maintenance or the operation, I'm sure you can appreciate what is the air handling unit. Okay. The question always is why we need to do energy audit of HVAC system. In general, no, hindi ko po sinasabi na lahat ay HVAC po ang pinakamalaki. Hindi ko po sinasabi, but the average, no, even the home, commercial building, or even in the industry, yung HVAC po talaga ang may pinakamalaking allocation in terms of energy consumption. So this is only for the example, but it will average around 40 to 60%. No? It depends on the application of the industry. That's why, yun po yung pinakamagandang i-audit muna when we go or when we visit a building. Let's check the opportunities, and HVAC is one of the opportunities that we can reduce energy consumption. Okay? Meron po ako nakita sa internet, no? It's the study from the Ateneo. It is last year, no, January 19, 2023, that in terms of electricity prices, no, in the Asia Pacific, we are number 4. It's a bit high, no? In the ASEAN, we are number 2. Medyo bumaba na nga, no? From the previous years, we are always the number 1 in terms of electricity cost. Maybe because we already installed renewable energies. Okay? But if you can notice, no, sa Asia Pacific, Japan, New Zealand, Singapore, alam natin na itong mga country to is very progressive countries. But in the Philippines, I don't want to mention anything, but if you compare Philippines to other countries like Japan, no, New Zealand, Singapore, you can see the difference, no? And it is one of the reason why we also need to audit the HVAC is because of the price of the electricity. If you're in the food manufacturing setup, it will affect the price of their product, which is the conversion cost. That is why it's very important to really reduce consumption, not only for the absolute usage, but also in terms of money. Okay? Alright, so yung mga common report guidelines, it was mentioned earlier that the American Society of Heating, Refrigerating, and Air Conditioning Engineers, meron sila mga standard for commercial building energy audit. So there will be level 1, level 2, and level 3, which is the level 1 is the walkthrough analysis, level 2 is the energy survey and analysis, level 3 is detailed analysis of capital intensive modifications. So it's very clear here that there's always level of audits that we can choose, no, but medyo may kamahalan po kasi kapag yung mga sobrang detalyado na. That's why the DOE required us at least level 1, no? So for this webinar, we will focus on the level 1, no, the basic walkthrough analysis of our buildings or in the industry. Even the DOE, they patterned the energy audit levels from ASHRAE, no? Meron tayong level 1, level 2, and level 3. Okay, ano ba yung level 1? So for the level 1 kasi, it provides preliminary breakdown of energy use, identifies low cost, no, it's very clear, no cost energy saving measures, identifies potential capital improvements, utility rate analysis, and development of energy consumption target. So for this particular level of audit, we will identify a low cost, at least, no, and no cost energy saving measures. We will discuss why later. Okay. For the level 2, energy survey and analysis, ito medyo sobrang detalyado na to, no. You will calculate the heat gain loss, no, ventilation balance, right? Ano yung impact ng mga losses, how we can calculate those losses, and how we can calculate a specific energy reduction based on electricity, fuel, or other types of energy that you are using. So more detailed building survey and energy use analysis, changes to operation and maintenance procedures, no, midway meeting with owner and facility manager, so identifies practical energy saving measures and ROI. So there will be savings and of course the calculations of return of investment. Okay. Level 3 is more on investment grade audit, whether it is a small scale, medium scale, or large scale projects, no. It will be a high energy savings, a high energy projects recommendations, no. But of course, if you want this kind of audit, then you also need to invest in terms of cost for the auditors. Okay. Okay, it's very important here is the energy audit strategy. Okay, let's start, no. Meron kasi mga energy audit that they already jump and go straight to the high energy savings projects with high investment, no. Meron na ring mga innovative opportunities for energy savings. But sometimes na-overlook yung mga small things, no. So, normally kapag yung small things pag sama-samahin mo, malaki na rin 'yan. What we should do as auditor or as energy manager is to prioritize yung mga low-hanging fruits, no, or low investment, or fine-tuning with marginal investment. Yun yung pinakamahalaga, no, because when you are proposing a project, no, to big boss, if you're in the industry, there's so many challenges, there's so many questions, it will go series of approval. And if wala po yung buy-in or walang balik sa company, then don't expect it will be approved. So where we will focus as auditor, we will also help the company. We will also help the commercial buildings, the hotel, how they can conserve energy without investing a huge amount of money, no? That's why our strategy is to prioritize the low-hanging fruits. Ano ba yung ibig sabihin ng low-hanging fruits? Yung mga low investment. Minsan nga wala nang investment yun, adjustment na lang yun, di ba? Correction na lang or continue lang kung ano yung mas magandang practices. Fine-tuning, yung mga optimizations ng mga supply temperature. Hindi mo kailangan ng malaking investment dyan. So, yun ang pinakamahalaga for now as we will do a level 1 audit. No? As we will do a site visit, no? Please take note, no? Yung po muna ang ating uunahin bago tayo mag-proceed sa mga high energy saving projects. Unless, no, it is a top-down alignment, no? If galing sa taas talaga na, ito, engineer, I have 100 million here. Prioritize the high energy savings projects because we have a target for the next 5 years. We need to reduce at least 25%. So we need to identify more energy saving projects. Okay yun. Mas maganda yun, di ba? But, kung hindi naman ganoon ang scenario, well, we should focus on the low-hanging fruits. Okay. For this audit process, I will just give some overview paano ginagawa yung mga basic audit. So, the number one is pre-site visit work. So, for example, if you have an energy audit that is scheduled for February 1, so dapat mga January 25, you can now request from the end users or the facilities manager the datas, no, or any information about your industry, about your building. So normally, you can request at least 2 years of energy consumption. But for me, if they can provide at least 5 years of energy consumption, the better. The importance of this is we can review if the energy consumption of the establishment is going down or going up, so that we can ask questions, right? Mahalaga yun, no? If we have first information about the energy consumption, we can ask them, bakit tumaas ang energy nyo from 2019 to 2022? Bakit bumaba ang energy consumption nyo from 2019 to 2022? Ano ang nagbago? And if it is going down, what the activities na ginawa ninyo na bumaba ang energy consumption? Maybe hindi siguro sa energy projects yun, baka mamaya if the hotel maybe bumaba ang gumamit ng mga hotels, no? Umunti yung naghotel. Okay? So, if tumaas naman, okay, it's very important to have idea, no? Saan papunta yung energy consumption ng isang industry or ng isang commercial building or establishment, so that we can ask questions prior the proper audit, no? And so that we have idea how we can strategize our audit. Okay? And for the benchmark building and other information, so meron po kasi tayong mga software na, no? Especially these days, because of the technology that we have a lot technology that we can offer. We have Edge, no? We have Energy Star Portfolio Manager, wherein you can input datas, no? and you can simulate if this building is really a benchmark from other buildings, and you can also identify, and you can check, what are the opportunities that we can improve. So if you want to use this kind of portfolio manager, meron po sa YouTube niyan at sa Google University. You can explore how to use it. Free po yan, no? You can log in and you can input datas and you can have at least idea, no, and to have simulate, no, kung saan nakalocate yung lugar, and you can assess, no, how much energy ang pwedeng ma-save. It's not the most accurate, but at least you have this some sort of simulation. Okay, next. Okay, perform building walkthrough. So if the audit will start on February 1, so you will now conduct a walkthrough on the building. So there will be review and test current building systems, no, like envelope, lighting, HVAC, domestic hot water, and other major systems, no. And it's very important to interview the facility manager. You can interview them maybe before the start of the audit, or during introduction, or even during the visit, no. You can ask the building set points, equipment run times, occupant schedules, talk with occupants, no, and also you can interview the technicians, mechanics, operators, and other concerned personnel, no, where you can get some other informations, no, the operations, is it running 24/7. So for this type of audit kasi, no, nauuso na kasi yung mga building envelope, wherein it is the physical separator between the conditioned and unconditioned environment of a building, including the resistance to air, water, heat, light, and noise transfer. So may mga separate po tayong mga webinars na gagawin in terms of building envelope, but the bottom line is building envelope is part of the latest trend or latest approach for climate control in terms of energy consumption sa mga buildings. Okay? So, analysis of building energy use. So, it is applicable also for the different types of audit. Pwede po to sa level 1, level 2, and level 3. So, meaning, you are now looking for energy consumption trends. No? You will now analyze the data. You will now break down the energy use. And if you have software, no, like CFD, marami na po ngayon, no, yung CFD, especially when you want to simulate, no, and we really need to upgrade our skills, no, in terms of analysis of energy. Yung CFD applicable na yan sa lahat, no, even in the fire protection and HVAC design. And identify and evaluate energy conservation measures, no, feasibility, annual energy savings, operation cost, and occupant comfort and health. Okay, so it's more on the detailed energy analysis na po ito. A reminder lang, no, let's ensure that the energy provided by the facilities are validated and accurate so that we can analyze correctly and we can give correct, we can give accurate information, if we can give a very reliable recommendations. Okay. Of course, energy audit process is one of the energy audit process is the final report, and it's this is already the final presentations during the audit. Of course, we will now provide information about the building, energy end use breakdown, and ano yung mga recommended energy conservation measures that we can help, that we can provide to the facilities manager and or to the owner of the building or factory manager of the industry. Okay. Okay. One of the things that is important as auditor is to have tools, no? Actually, marami po kasi talagang tools na pwedeng gamitin. If you are already an expert in the field of energy management or energy audit, marami po ang mga tools na ginagamit. But what we can have is at least meron tayo nung common, no? Digital lux meter, no? Measure light levels, light intensity, multi-tester, no, to measure the voltage, current, and resistance of the induction motors, no. Hygrometer, measure temperature and humidity. It is very important when you are going to audit an HVAC, right? Anemometer, device that measures wind speed and direction. If we want to measure the velocity of the supply air in the different rooms, no, from the diffuser, it's very important to have this. And of course, flashlight. Kasi when we are going to do a gemba or site visit, there will be dark spots or uh, dark places, no? And you need a flashlight, no? Para atin pong makita, no? At masilip natin yung mga dapat silipin, no? And ito po mga product po ito is mga fluke ito, but I don't recommend to buy this kasi mahal po yan. Anything that will function for you to be successful energy auditor, kahit ano pong brand yan, pwede po yan, no? For as long as it will give you an accurate data and information, wala pong problema kahit anong brand. Okay. Okay, so we are here now to the key points of HVAC system energy audit. Kung mapapansin po natin, marami po siya, no? But we will give information for the first 5 only, no? Building information, analysis, HVAC equipment, control system, chillers, and cooling towers. Because for the lighting, electrical demand, additional equipment, heat loss, heat gain calculation, ventilation balance, it requires a detailed analysis of energy audit, especially for the ventilation balance, no? Heat loss and heat gain calculations. I hope, and kung loloobin po ng Diyos, magkaroon pa tayo ng mga series of webinar for the energy audit calculations. But for now, it is very important to know at least what are the key points. So when we are going to audit an HVAC system. Okay. So let's start sa building information. Sorry. Okay. For the building information, no, we need to identify the building type, age, construction, square footage, etc. Example lang po ito, no. Of course, if we want to have a complete information about the building, it is one of the most important thing that we need to have, no, the information of the building. As mentioned earlier, no, may mga software tayong pwedeng gamitin, no, that we can input the building information like Edge and also Portfolio Manager that we can use as simulation. All right, so if we are not detailed how to use this, we can use the YouTube University. Madali lang pong gamitin yan. We will just input the data. At nakakatuwa po yan kasi doon mo makikita yung mga parang it will generate automatic report. And maganda siya kasi you will input the let's say total floor area, and meron na siyang mga details how you can approach the energy audit. But of course, iba pa rin yung actual, no? Kumbaga, meron ka lang first information. Okay. So, okay, meron akong idea how we will do the audit for this type of building. Okay. Analysis of energy consumptions. Excuse me. It is very important. That's why we need to have these LPGUs. We need to have the electricity. Kasi we need to know the annual gas consumption, no? And also other fuel consumption, and of course, the electricity consumed. That's why the consumption analysis is very important because we really need to know saan ba papunta ang energy consumption ng building na to. Pataas ba siya? Pababa? No? And that's why the data is very important. The same goes for the gas consumption or the fuel consumption kasi may mga HVAC tayo na ginagamitan ng mga hot water or steam system to control the RH. So, of course, if you have boilers, meron po siyang fuel consumption. That is wherein we can also reduce and we can have opportunities kasi if the hot water temperature or the steam requirement is we can optimize, no, then we can reduce LPG usage, and it will impact as well our energy absolute consumption and also the cost savings. Okay, so ito mga example lang po ito, no. We can plot this in the Excel file or may mga software naman na ini-input na lang then automatically meron na siyang makikreate ng mga charts. But madali lang po siyang gawin, no? Ang mahirap lang po dito is yung consolidation ng data. Kung ito is monthly, then you really need to consolidate all data, no, for you to have the consumption charts. Okay. If you're going to audit, ito po ang isa sa dapat na hindi mawala. We need to request from the owner, from the facilities manager, yung list ng lahat ng HVAC equipment. Bakit? It's very important kasi so that we have the idea ano yung pinakamalaki na mag-consume na equipment ng HVAC system mo. Diba? If you have the list of all the equipments, and you can also identify, you can ask, ito bang mga to is inverter na, especially if you are going to audit the split type air conditioning, the window type. For as long as it has the energy label from the DOE, maganda ang kanyang energy efficiency rating, so you're doing good, no? But if not, we can suggest or we can recommend, no? So it's up to them if they want, okay, because it needs investment, diba? And normally if the building is using chilled water system, we can expect that the highest energy consumption is the chilled water. And that's why if you have the equipment list, I suggest before the actual audit, isama na ito sa request natin. Para pagdating doon, yun yung ating uunahin na pupuntahan. Of course, marami pa rin mga auxiliaries po yan, no? But if you are the chilled water system, nandun po yung motor eh. And yung motor, of course, isa yan sa source ng electricity, sa source ng malaking consumption. May cooling tower ka, may mga motors and pumps yun. Diba? So, doon po tayo magfo-focus, no? Let's focus our energy or our activity or our audit doon sa may pinakamalaking consumption. Kasi yun din yung magbibigay sa iyo ng pinakamalaking savings, 'di ba? Yung mga maliliit, hindi mo siya priority, no? Ang ating priority is yung mga malalaki ang motor, malalaki ang energy consumption. Kaya mahalaga kung yung nameplate or yung equipment list ay kumpleto lahat ng nameplate. Nandun yung capacity ng motor, nandun yung capacity ng cooling load mo, 'di ba? Yun ang maganda, no? Kaya wag na wag po natin kakalimutan na humingi ng mga equipment list. Okay, control system. Normally, sa panahon ngayon, halos lahat naman is automated, no? Naka-interlock na sa lahat ng mga controls. But maybe some of the industry, hindi pa rin naman ganon. That's why you also need to ask questions. Yun bang chilled water system ninyo, yung bang AHU ninyo ay lahat automatic? Kumbaga sa aircon sa bahay, no? Kung meron tayong window type, automatic bang nag-a-adjust yung temperature mo o yung nag-a-adjust yung motor mo kapag na-hit niya na yung required temperature? Kasi kapag hindi, gap na yan, no? And it's already an opportunity. So, from the experience, no, meron tayong mga automatic or interlock controls, especially, for example, no, for the cooling towers. So, yung cooling tower before is naka-manual siya, but we can improve it, no? Yung speed ng motor, it will adjust kapag mababa or mataas ang cooling water return from the condenser. For example, if the return temperature of your cooling water is 39 degrees, yung mga motor mo talaga naka 100% siya. Pero kung mababa, let's say 30 degrees, mababa lang yung rotation ng motor. Yung mga ganun, no, is already a savings. You can check it, no? Ngayon, kapag hindi, you can recommend, no? Kasi madali siyang i-calculate eh. Yung previous mo na consumption ng motor mo and after, malaki ang savings nun, 'di ba? You can calculate it. Napakadali lang pong i-calculate nun and meron ka na agad savings na ipapakita sa boss mo. Okay, maganda 'yon, no? So, marami, no? And if you have a fan coil unit in a particular office, you can install timer, no? For example, dati-rati from 7 to 5 p.m. hanggang sa gabi tumatakbo pa rin yung FCU nyo, di ba? Di ba? So we can install timer, no? We can have on and off, let's say, kung wala naman tao sa gabi or 6 in the morning, we can start the FCU around 7 a.m. para pagpasok ng mga tao, medyo malamig na rin, no? Kasi kapag i-on mo kasi yung aircon ng 8 a.m., hindi pa naman agad lalamig yon, tsaka mainit na, so baka hindi rin comfortable sa mga occupants. And also, you can off the aircon, let's say, it depends, no? Kung 5 p.m. yan or 6 p.m. So, nakadepende yan. Okay? So, from the experience, no, when we do that initiative, medyo marami lang nagreklamo because yung mga nagtatrabaho until 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. sobrang naiinitan. That's why we adjusted it and we do it. We can automatically off the FCU by 6 p.m. So it's a good thing as well that if you off already the aircon by 5 p.m. then pwede nang umuwi, wala nang overtime, di ba? Savings din yon. Alright? So, yung mga ganong scenario, no? And marami pang iba, no? If you have a chiller that is operating, let's say for example, you have two chillers, one main and one backup, you can have a master and slave operation. So, yung master mo, yung main mo, is the base load, no? So, pag tumaas ang consumption mo, pag tumaas ang load is tatakbo lang yung backup. So, mga ganong klaseng controls. And there's so many controls that we can do for that, no? And we need an expert. We need a automation team that we can configure. Of course, it needs money, no, to invest. Okay, of course, chillers, cooling towers, and package AC units. We can always review the chiller operation, runtimes, and efficiencies. Review cooling tower operation, runtimes, and efficiencies. Evaluate use of BSD or the BFD for both chillers, motors, and cooling tower fans. And review AC units, operation, controls, and economizer use and scheduling. So sa chiller kasi, marami kasing opportunity dito, no? If you are going to do a detailed energy audit, you need some sort of investment. You can harvest and recover the waste, no, but it needs investment. But of course, we will prioritize the low-hanging fruits. So if you can see here in this right side picture, this installation, you need to really check why it happened, no? Bakit hindi sila nag-centralize dito? They installed individual window type air conditioning. So you can have at least annual cleaning of this. Medyo mahirap linisin to, ang dami, no? But in terms of energy, do you think it will save you energy? I think so, for as long as it has energy label from the DOE. But it's really not good, no? Kasi I don't know kung sino ang nag-recommend to use this. Why they don't use centralized chilled water system? Maybe because na mahalan or mas madali itong gawin. I really don't know. But if you are the designer, of course, you're going to consider the sustainability, no, yung maintenance. And of course, energy. Kasi tingin ko mas makakatipid ka pa rin kung nag-centralize ka dito, eh. 'Di ba? So, yung mga ganung scenario, no. So, I just show it, no, for us to be aware that as a designer, no, dapat maging practical tayo. At saka, imagine, no, yung building mo puro ganyan. So, in terms of impression, sasabihin yan, saan ba yan? Anong bansa ba to? Sabihin sa Philippines. Nako, hindi pa magiging maganda impression sa mga mechanical engineers. Okay? Okay, let's now proceed to the basic assessment, no, if we will do audits. It's very important to have assessment of chiller efficiency. Yan. Ito po kasi ang pinakamadali, no? Sometimes, we already jump into conclusion, oh, we need to reduce ganito. But we don't know what is the chiller efficiency. It's very important to know first, ano ang COP. The COP po, no, ito po yung efficiency ng chiller, coefficient of performance. How we can do it, no? Meron po tayong formula, which is the kilowatt refrigeration divided by the kilowatt electricity. So, madali lang pong gawin yan. You just need to calculate the actual cooling load and divide mo dun sa consumption ng motor. So for example, we have this 2,500 kilowatt of cooling load and the motor is 460 kilowatts. So we can divide it, no? And if we get 5.4 and if we plot it on the rating, no? 5.4 is already good. Nasa boundary po siya ng excellent tsaka ng good. So meaning, ang 5.4 is for every 1 kilowatt of electricity, you get 5.4 kilowatt of cooling. So efficient siya, no? Hindi mo masasabi siyang hindi siya efficient or fair or needs improvement. So in terms of kilowatt per ton, we can calculate as well, no? We just convert the 2,500 kilowatts into tons, no? We divide to 3.517, so we can get 0.64. So here, it will fall to excellent. So meaning, maganda yung COP na 5.4. Okay? Ang problema, what if nasa 3 ka? So less than 3 is already inefficient chiller. And if kapag ang chiller mo po ay hindi efficient, ano po ang ibig sabihin nun? Mas malaki din po ang energy consumption mo. Okay? So dun pa lang, no? Dahil ang malaking motor nasaan ba? Nasa chiller yung malaking motor eh. Nandun yung malaking consumption. So doon tayo mag-focus. And we can check it by getting the COP. That's all, no? Ganun lang yun. Napakadali. Ang importante po dito sa COP is dapat tama ang data. Kaya nga sabi ko, it's very easy to have an energy audit of your chilled water system. You can do it very casual. But the critical here is the accuracy of your data. Kasi kung mali ang data mo, di magmamali ka na ngayon ng interpretation, di ba? Kasi nakuha mo mataas pero mali pala yung data mo. So magkakamali tayo ngayon. Instead na magkaroon tayo ng reduction, wala na lang kasi ang ganda ng COP mo. Okay, so it's very important. To get the electricity of this motor, we can have the consumption, no? We can get the nameplate, but of course, we need to get the actual. So I'm sure naman meron ng mga power meters sa mga chiller motors natin. Meron yan sigurado, no? May naka-allocate na power meters. Okay? For the refrigeration load, eto, we can get it by doing some sort of quick calculations. So if you are in the chilled water system, kailangan meron lang po tayo mga ganitong data. So first, alam po natin yung temp out, alam po natin yung temp in, no? And of course, we can get the chilled water density of the water, no? Normally average 1,000, we can use 999, you can use 1,000. And of course, the CP, no, which is 4.19 kilojoules per kilogram Kelvin. And for the chilled water volume flow rate, which is ito po siya, chilled water volume flow rate, you can get it from the pump nameplate, or kung meron po tayong device to measure the velocity or the flow rate of the chilled water, the better. The most important here is the accuracy of this data, yung pong temperature in and temperature out. Napakahalaga po na dapat yan ay accurate, and also yung volume flow rate mo. Kasi kung mali po ito, for example, sa actual during the visit, no, nakuha mo is 6 degrees, tapos yung return or yung temperature in sa chiller mo is 12. Pero yun pala, hindi pala nakakalibrate yung sensor for almost 10 years. Patay tayo dyan. So you cannot guarantee the accuracy of the data. Kasi walang calibration record. Hindi na validate man lang yung temperature sensor ng kahit 4 to 20 milliamps. Walang any intervention to ensure that you are giving accurate data. So mahirap naman yun, no? It's difficult kasi we need to get the actual for us to calculate the actual cooling load of your chiller. And you can also use this one, no, yung pang-college natin na formula. Q is equals to volume flow rate times density times CP times the difference of the temperature. So now if you already get this, you can get this load, or if you want to convert that, you can get in terms of tons of refrigeration. So ensure that the temperature data and volume flow rate are validated and accurate. So you can now get the actual cooling load. Ngayon, you want to get the motor electricity, you can get the consumption. Okay, and now you can calculate na the COP. So just divide it. If you get 6, wala na masyadong improvement doon. Maganda ang efficiency ng chiller mo. Pero if you got 4 or 3, you need improvements. Okay? So it's very clear ha. Madali lang, no? You just get the COP of your chiller. Ano ba yung mga opportunities? Yan. So, sabi dito, no, the design and operation of chilled water system with large temperature difference has attracted attention with the concept of a high efficiency chiller plant. So sabi nila dito, increasing the temperature difference between supply and return temperature can reduce the circulating water flow, reduce transmission energy consumption, and improve the chiller's efficiency. So meaning 28% of energy can be saved by raising the chilled water differential temperature from 5 degrees to 8 degrees in a typical day. So meaning if the differential temperature of your system is 5, you can still improve it, no? The more na taasan mo yung differential temperature niya, the more na magkakaroon ka ng energy savings. So if you want to increase that to 8, you can save 28% of energy. Imagine, ang laki nun. Right? So, magandang opportunity siya. But, of course, ensure, no, as my experience, no, I will share my experience that you need to consult the OEM or the supplier of your chiller. If it is really good or okay to optimize pa yung chilled water differential temperature, because mamaya kung ang talagang design nyo talaga is 5 degrees lang, wala ka na magagawa. But if you can still improve and increase to 8 degrees without affecting the chiller, without affecting the reliability of your chiller, mas maganda. Kasi may mga instances po talaga na before you adjust any setting or improve any parameters, you need to consult the supplier. Baka may mga limitations din yung equipment mo. Hindi lahat ng equipment is pwede mong i-adjust ng i-adjust. There will be limitations. At kapag na-violate mo yung limitations na yon, it can cause problems in terms of reliability of your chiller. So, ingat lang tayo doon, no? There are always opportunities, but of course, let's put some caution din doon, no? Let's consult the OEM or the expert or the supplier nung pong ating equipment or ang chiller specifically. Okay? Ano pa yung mga opportunities, no? To increase the chiller efficiency, sabi dito, keep your tubes clean and free of contaminants that can reduce heat transfer and increase pressure drop. Ganito po yan, no? Based from the experience, if the discharge pressure of your chiller is already at 15 bars, kabahan na po tayo doon. The optimum discharge pressure of your chiller must be at least 13 to 14 bars. Kasi pag 15 bars, it will give you a high energy consumption. At the same time, the condensing temperature also is affected. So you should check whether the heat exchanger ba or the condenser is already clogged or madumi na siya, or may problema ka lang sa cooling water system. You can check it. And I advise not to prolong the 15 bars discharge pressure of your chiller because it will also affect the reliability of your chiller, not only the energy. So if you can reduce the 15 bars pressure down to 13 to 14, you can save energy. How we can calculate it? I-compute mo lang yung previous consumption ng 15 bars at yung 13 bars before and after. You can calculate the difference, you can calculate the savings annually. And medyo mahal ang kuryente, magiging malaki ang savings mo. Sasabihin mo sa boss, 10 million ang ating savings, oh. Wow, laki nun. Wala kang ginawa kundi maglinis lang ng heat exchanger. Or inayos mo lang yung cooling water system. There's no really huge investment. Only maintenance, di ba? And reduce the entering water temperature of the condenser system to improve heat rejection and lower power consumption. So ito na ngayon yung mga cooling tower range, no? Cooling tower approach. So if we can improve the cooling water temperature, no? If we can reduce it, the better, kasi para mas maganda rin yung ating temperature and pressure ng ating condenser. Of course, schedule regular preventive maintenance. Well, it's already in place. Ang problema kasi kung hindi, no? Kapag nakita mo sa schedule nila ng mga maintenance history is ang last maintenance ng chiller mo is 5 years ago pa or 3 years ago pa, abay, nakakatakot na yon. Wala ka man lang ginawang change oil or change filter, refrigerant levels, checking. So, siguro sobrang kapabayaan naman na yon, no? Siguro, hindi naman siguro nangyayari yon. But, hindi tayo pwedeng maging complacent. We still need to check the history of the maintenance of your chiller. Kailan ba nag-change oil? Kailan ba naglinis ng condenser? Kailan ba nag-inspect ng cooling water system? So, it's very important kasi doon tayo magkakaroon ng idea. Oy sir, meron kayong mga gap dito halos the recommended running hour should be at least 40,000 pero lampas na ng 40,000, wala kayong historical maintenance nitong equipment ninyo. So, doon pa lang meron ng gap. Ang laki na ng gap noon, di ba? Kasi kung hindi rin maganda ang quality ng oil mo, it will affect the reliability, no, of your system. No, because of the chill oil temperature. Kung sobrang init ng oil temperature mo, it can cause problem on your mechanical system of your chiller, di ba? And of course, increase the supply temperatures of the chilled water to reduce the cooling load and energy demand. Ito na yung mga optimization wherein you can adjust the chilled water supply temperature. Let's say, before ang setting mo is 6 degrees, ngayon pwede mong gawing 8 degrees kasi wala namang masyadong impact, no? Yun yung mga opportunities, but no, as I mentioned earlier, you need to consult the OEM para lang maging sure tayo na okay lang pa mag-adjust ng parameters. Kasi pag may nangyari dyan, kanino ba yan babalik? Sa atin naman babalik yan. Wala namang ibang sisisihin kundi tayo, di ba? So, dapat aware tayo doon, no? Okay. Isa pa sa mga pinakamadali at pinakamabilis i-assess o i-audit is yung mga cooling towers. So, if the building or the industry has a cooling tower, it's very important to assess the efficiency of that, no? Ano ba yung ibig sabihin ng cooling tower? So, cooling tower is a heat removal device that uses water to transfer process waste heat into the atmosphere. Likewise, an industrial cooling tower operates on the principle of removing heat from water by evaporating a small portion of water that is recirculated through the unit. So, meaning, sa cooling tower po, we already reject the heat, no? The absorbed heat from the rooms through AHU and chilled water system, dito po siya lalabas sa cooling tower. It's a heat rejection process na. Typical cooling tower efficiency is 70 to 75%. Bakit kaya hindi inaabot ng 90? Kasi po, the efficiency of the cooling tower is limited by the ambient wet bulb temperature. So, mahirap po talaga i-increase ang efficiency ng cooling tower to the point that you want to increase it around 80 to 95. It's difficult, especially when you live in a tropical countries like the Philippines, na nagbabago-bago ang ating humidity, no? So mahirap i-increase ang efficiency. But of course, if we can improve the efficiency of your cooling tower, let's say if the calculated efficiency is only 60% and we can improve it to 75%, the better, no? So ano ba yung ating mga pwedeng gawin? First, we should know the terms, no? Ano ba yung cooling tower approach, range, and wet bulb temperature? So, ang cooling tower approach is the difference in temperature of the water entering, no, the basin and wet bulb. Okay? Cooling tower range is the difference between the temperature of water entering the cooling tower, no? Ito po, minus leaving the cooling tower. So, meaning, the cooling water return or the hot water and the cooling water supply or the cold water. What is wet bulb temperature? It is the lowest temperature to which air can be cooled by the evaporation of water into the air at a constant pressure. So meaning, may impact po yung in terms of evaporation. So that's why it is a function of humidity. Kapag po ang RH ng air surrounding environment mo ay mataas, mas okay siya. Kasi hindi ka magkakaroon ng maraming losses in terms of evaporation. But kaya po pag during summer, mababa po ang efficiency ng ating cooling tower kasi ang humidity ng ating normally sa Philippines, no, the humidity is around 40 to 50%. So kapag ganun po ang RH mo, mas marami kang water na mag-evaporate. Kasi 'di ba hindi ka saturated eh. Kasi kapag 100% ng RH mo, meaning wala nang space dun sa air na makapag-evaporate pa yung water eh, 'di ba? So kaya normally kapag medyo maulan, 'di ba, medyo mataas ang RH niyan. Pero pag summer, sobrang laki ng buffer ng RH mo. So, ibig sabihin, mas mabilis mag-evaporate yung water mo. Kapag mabilis mag-evaporate ng water, mas marami ka ngayong make-up water. That's why, hindi mo ma-maintain yung temperature sa cooling tower basin kapag frequent ang water makeup mo. Okay? Kaya, ang efficiency ng cooling tower mo, mababa because of the wet bulb temperature and also the RH. So, how we can calculate it? So, efficiency is equals to range divided by range plus approach. Or if we can simplify the formula, we can get hot water temp, ito yon, cold water temp leaving, hot water temp minus the wet bulb, which is 28 degrees. So if you can notice here, if we calculate this data, we can only get 63%. So how we can improve to 70 to 75%? So ano yung ating mga pwedeng tingnan dyan? Well, we can reduce the temperature of the cold water. Kung ito po ay 32, if there will be opportunities, we can reduce it to at least 30, no, or 29. Hindi po pwedeng mangyari na ang wet bulb temperature mo ay equal po sa cold water. Kasi kapag equal po yan, mangyayari yan 1. So ibig sabihin, 100% na. Wala naman pong ganung efficiency. 'Di ba sa energy law, 'di ba? Wala pong perfect kasi laging may losses. So meaning kapag in a normal process, kapag mababa po ang cold water mo, mas mababa din yung wet bulb. No? Kapag mataas po ang cold water mo, mataas din yung magiging wet bulb mo, pero hindi po sila equal. Okay? So, ang mga improvements na ating pwedeng gawin dito, ano ba yung ating pwedeng gawin na improvements? Well, you should check first yung mga auxiliaries, no? Like yung cooling tower fans, yung fan blades, baka mamaya sira na, kaya hindi niya pababa ng maayos yung temperature ng hot water mo or yung return water because may problema ka sa mechanical systems. Or baka yung mga feelers mo ay madudumi na. Yung mga drift eliminators mo sira-sira na, no? May impact po 'yun sa heat transfer no? Parang ano 'yan yung pong kasing hot water, mataas po ang enthalpy niyan. So kapag bumababa po 'yan sa mga feelers or drift eliminators, it break down into pieces po yung water. Kapag na-breakdown niya po into pieces yung water, yung parang shower, no? Bumababa rin po ang enthalpy niya. It will also lower the temperature. So, yun po yung mga ating pwedeng gawin opportunities. Wherein, ito po yun. Okay? We can check the water quality of the cooling water basin. When we do audits, meron po kami nakita last time, no? That they are using raw water or drinking water. Ngayon po, kapag po kasi ang cooling water na ginagamit mo is a drinking water or raw water, mataas po ang hardness niyan, meaning meron pong magnesium and calcium. It will cause a clogging or scaling sa mga heat exchangers po natin. Why? At high temperature, yung pong magnesium and calcium, yan po ay nagpe-precipitate. Kung saan naiiwan po yan sa mga heat exchangers. Wherein, kaya meron kang makikitang mga scales, di ba? Yun po yung mga magnesium and calcium. Na kapag hindi po natin na-correct, it will clog your heat exchanger, magkakaroon ka ng scaling and corrosion. Ano po mangyayari sa heat exchanger saka sa discharge pressure? Tataas. That's why it's very important to improve your water quality. No? At the same time, it will also improve the efficiency of your cooling tower. Kasi kung maganda ang quality ng water mo, hindi rin ganoon kadumi ang mga feelers mo. No? Hindi rin magkakaroon ng severe corrosions yung mga parts ng cooling tower. That's why it is recommended to use a soap water or RO water kung maraming pera sa mga cooling tower basin to protect the chillers and to protect the cooling towers from any corrosions. Kasi pag soap water po, zero hardness po yan. Wala siyang magnesium, wala siyang calcium. So it will protect the equipment, it will save energy, it will increase the efficiency of both chillers and cooling towers. Okay? Track your system water loss and install drift eliminators to reduce drift loss. Yung kasi naman pong water loss, it's normal po naman talaga sa cooling tower yan, especially if you are using induced draft na cooling tower because of the evaporation. Pero, mas magiging malaki ang losses mo kung hindi mo inaayos yung mga drift eliminators mo. Instead na ang makeup water rate mo is 1 cubic meter lang, magiging 3 cubic meter ka. Meron ka ng waste sa water, meron ka pang waste sa energy. How? Kasi kung the more frequent yung makeup ng cooling water mo, hindi mo ma-maintain yung temperature doon sa cooling tower basin na sinusupply mo as cooling water doon po sa condenser ng chiller. Kung na-maintain mo siya ng 25 degrees because of limited water losses or evaporation, kung mas malaki ang evaporation loss mo or water losses mo, mas lalaki ang makeup mo. Hindi mo ngayon ma-maintain ng tuloy-tuloy yung 25. It will increase to 26 to 27 degrees. So, at 1 degrees, at 1 degree change of temperature, it will contribute at least 10% of your energy consumption. So, doon pa lang, no, meron ka ng losses in terms of water, in terms of energy. It will also reduce the efficiency of your chiller. Okay, so increase cycles of concentration by cooling water treatment to reduce makeup water. So, ito po is more on the quality na ng water natin. Kasi may mga instances that we need to maintain the conductivity or silica of the cooling water. And if sobra pong taas yan, mataas din po ang blowdown rate. Meaning, frequent ang blowdown ng cooling tower to maintain a certain amount of silica or conductivity. So kapag frequent po ang blowdown, frequent ang makeup natin. Hindi ma-maintain ng maayos din yung cooling water temperature. So yung mga ganung bagay, no, which is it's very easy lang, no, na hindi mo kailangan ng ganung kalaking investment. You just need to correct. And also, periodically inspect all equipment and make repairs if needed. Well, it's very important to visit our cooling towers. Baka mamaya yung ating cooling tower naka 100% na yung speed pero yung pala sa actual mabagal, no? Yung mga ganun. So, we need to ensure that the maintenance of the cooling tower are in place at hindi lang in place kundi dapat nagagawa talaga siya. Okay, assessment of air distribution system. So, for space air diffusion with overhead cooling. So, sabi dito, no, we need to maintain the wind velocity in the room for at least 0.20 to 0.30 meter per second. That's why importante po na meron tayong anemometer, no? Bakit, no? Because the air, sabi dito, in such condition space shall at all times be in constant motion, sufficient to maintain a reasonable uniformity of temperature and humidity, but shall not cause objectionable draft in any occupied portions. Kasi po, kung ang velocity po ng ating supply air is within or less from 0.20 to 0.30, ano po ba ang pwedeng mangyari? So, unang-una, hindi mo po ma-maintain yung required temperature sa room. At the same time, it will also increase or change your RH requirement. So, kapag nangyari po yan, iinit po yung room. So, it will give you more energy, no? There will be no proper air circulations. Walang babalik din sa chiller, no? Kasi may babalik sa kanya but it's a very high temperature kasi nga kulang kasi yung binubuga mo. So baka mamaya may problema na yung blower mo dun sa air handling unit. Baka natanggal na yung belt dun, di ba? O may problema na yung motor mo so dapat nang i-check. So yun yung mga ating pwedeng dapat gawin. Bakit mababa ang bakit mababa ang wind velocity mo sa room na to? It should be at least 0.20 to 0.30. Kung nakakakuha ka ng 0.10, may problema tayo. So it's very important to check as well the commissioning data. Nung kinumission ba yan, talaga bang 0.20 yan? Baka naman talaga mababa. So bakit mababa ang binigay? So may mga instances na gano'n, no? And we should be aware of that. Kung talagang we need to deep dive why the velocity is low, we need to check the project and the commissioning data. No? Okay? Of course, air leaks. Well, it's very common, no? And isa ito sa mga na-overlook, yung mga air leaks na yan. If we can do audit, may mga non-thermal tayong device na pwedeng gamitin kung saan ba pwedeng lumabas yung mga supply air, no, from the AHU or from the diffuser. And kapag marami po tayo nakita dyan ng mga leaks, it's a gap. Pero madali lang po siyang i-correct kasi you just need to correct kung saan nanggagaling yung leaks, no? And although maliit siya, pero kung sobrang daming leak yan, it's a additional energy consumption. Kasi lumalabas yung lamig, no? So kung lumalabas yung lamig mo, hindi mo na maintain yung temperature ng room, 'di ba? Kung ang room temperature mo is, the requirement is 25, at kung napakadami mo namang leaks, ang daming mga infiltrations, hindi mo ma-maintain yung 25 degrees. So you are generating, or you are having a more energy consumption. So air leaks, no, importante yan. So if we can map all the leaks and we correct, you can save already a significant amount of energy. Building envelope, so like what I've said kanina, no, may mga climate control tayo. So that's why it's very important to minimize the solar gain, because solar radiation accounts for 40% to 70% of cooling load of almost buildings. We can use different insulations, no? Cortina, we can improve it. So there are recommendations, especially when we are studying in building envelope, especially yung mga architect, no, and also civil engineers or structural engineers. They can improve it, no, to minimize the solar gain, not only by using the curtains or any insulations, but in terms of design, no, may mga ways to minimize the heat gain, no. We can put different designs sa outside of the building to further lessen the solar gain impact, to reduce the energy consumption. And of course, air tightness. Ito na rin po yung binabanggit ko kanina in terms of air leak, yung mga infiltration of warm air and moisture, yeah? Exfiltration of cold air, yan na yung leaks, no? Substantially to the heat gain and energy consumption of an air-conditioned building. So if we are going to test, aside dun sa mga leak, at least we can check the leakage limit to at least 2.77 cubic meter per hour per meter of slush crack. That's why yung anemometer is very important, no? Also, for the sliding doors, 61.2 cubic meter per hour. Kasi, sa totoo lang kasi, no, it's very common talaga na may mga leaks. Hindi nawawala talaga yan eh. Kaya, there will be limit, no? Kung ang leakage mo lang naman is 2.77 sa mga windows, or kung sa mga doors mo or sliding doors are 61.2, okay lang. Wag naman sobrang laki. Kasi kung sa Windows, meron ka na mga 100. So, sobrang laki na no? And if we can minimize it, there will be calculations for that. Ang laki ng savings nun. Ibig mo, i-correct mo lang yung leak ng window. Ang savings mo, ganito nakalaki. Diba? So, matutuwa sa'yo yung mga stakeholders. Wow, nice. Very good. Okay? Yun yung mga very easy na corrections to save energy in HVAC. Okay, ano pa yung mga other energy efficiency opportunities? So, to be honest, no, sobra pong dami ng energy efficiency opportunities for HVAC. Sa sobrang dami, ma-overwhelm ka. That's why it's very important to prioritize, no? Prioritize into a manageable steps. Kaya nga po, sabi ko kanina, unahin natin dito yung HVAC list of equipment, check ano yung pinakamataas, and unahin mo yung efficiency ng chiller and efficiency ng cooling tower. Doon pa lang, doon ka na po makakakita ng malaking savings kasi nandun po yung mga malalaking motor. And if we will prioritize it, you can really have a good energy reduction, and you can identify and easily identify energy conservation measures doon sa mga chillers natin and recommendations. So sabi dito, no, ano yung mga other efficiency opportunities like matching capacity to system load, design versus actual, temperature set point optimization, capacity control of compressors, chilled water pipes insulations, leak corrections, and of course, chiller plant maintenance frequency review. Yung matching capacity to system load, madali lang po yan, no? Yung ating pong ginawa kanina, how you will calculate the actual load versus the design. Kasi, for example, ang design nito is 3,000 kilowatt, no, of cooling load. Pero sa actual, meron ka lang 1,200 kilowatt. Wala namang problema. 'Di ba? Wala namang issue. So, what you can do is to match the capacity sa system load. Instead na 100%, ito po yan, capacity control of compressors. Instead na 100% po na tumatakbo yung kasi ang chiller po kasi may mga sliding position po yan eh, no? You can adjust the capacity control based on the requirement. You can make it 80%, you can make it 90%, 70%, 50%. So kung ang actual mo lang is 1.8, tas ang design mo is 3,000, pero wala namang problema, walang issue, then you can adjust the capacity control of your compressor. Doon pa lang may savings ka na, no? Kasi pag 100% yan, syempre naka 100% full, naka 100 speed din yung motor mo. Pag binawasan mo ng load yan, bababa rin yung speed ng motor mo. Doon pa lang may savings ka na, di ba? So malaki na ang savings doon. But, as I mentioned always, prior adjustment, do meetings and alignment with the OEM or the supplier. Same goes for the temperature set point optimization. No? Ito yung sinasabi ko rin na kaparas lang po ito ng matching load. No? Kung ang temperature set point mo is dati is 5 degrees, subukan mong itaas ng mga 7 degrees kung wala magiging problema. Kung walang issue, at the same scenario, savings mo na agad yun. No? Hindi mo masyadong pahihirapan yung compressor mo or yung chiller mo. Mababa din yung magiging energy consumption. But again, no, reminder to inform the OEM. And of course, ito, yung mga gembang-geba natin, if you saw a insulations issue, mga sirang insulation, because there will be energy loss, no, and there will be a heat loss if it is heater or if it's cooling, energy loss din yon. So there will be a significant amount of energy usage waste po dyan. And again, also for the leak corrections, ito, mga madadali lang po itong i-correct, no? Kung may makita kang mga chilled water leaks, kailangan mo siyang i-repair. Kasi of course, kung may mga leak yan, instead na yung cooling load mo is napupunta ng maayos doon sa designated area, napupunta sa labas because of the leaking issues, no? So it's important to correct those leaks. And of course, the chiller plant maintenance frequency review. Yan. So hindi po pwede natin na i-bypass yung mga maintenance natin, especially if it is recommended by the OEM. Kung sinabi niya na dapat 10,000 running hours, gawin mo yung maintenance, let's do it. 20,000, 30,000, 40,000. Kasi minsan kasi yung maintenance, we look at it, it's like only a requirement for a equipment. But we don't realize that it is also an investment, no? Because you are investing to the reliability of your equipment for sustainability. 'Di ba? Kasi sino ba ang pwedeng mag-prolong ng life ng equipment? Kung pabayaan mo siya ng 10 years na wala ka man lang ginawang maintenance diyan. Same goes for our cars, 'di ba? Sa mga sasakyan natin. So, kailangan talaga ng magandang maintenance. May mga case to case naman na talagang nakadepende yung maintenance nila, depende sa business. For example, for this year, walang volume. Wala ka namang gagawing product, ba't ka magme-maintenance? 'Di ba? May mga case to case that we can align or discuss with our stakeholders. But at the end of the day, and the bottom line here is, as energy manager, as facilities manager, we need to ensure that we are on top in terms of the maintenance of our equipment, because it will not only prolong the life and the reliability of your equipment, it will also give us a significant reduction in terms of energy. Okay? All right, so thank you very much for this free webinar, and if you have any questions, you can email me and you can contact me from these contacts. So I have the LinkedIn, I have also WhatsApp and also Telegram. I am also part of our business. I am the managing partner and the project manager of our, small business lang, Fine Link Industrial Machine Installation and Services. So we offer technical and design consultation and building and facilities management, energy management, maintenance, FirePro HVAC. Also for the installation and maintenance, we also offer a PME sign and seal and certification services. And if you want to audit your plant, utilities and processes, we also offer that services. And of course, energy efficiency audits. And I'm also part of the PEFG Electrical as Certified Energy Manager Trainer and Energy Auditor. And also I'm one of the Energy Management Scheme Trainer of the ASEAN Center for Energy, and also a lecturer from the Impedance Review Center. So if you have questions, you can email me and drop any messages, and we can help uh, for us to have this a better approach in terms of energy management. Again, thank you very much.